How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to SeaBed. So when we were here, I found out I wasn't going entirely crazy. It's because Sachiko is going crazy and we were really confused. We're still really confused, but we're trying to get a little bit of pieces. Apparently there's some repressed memories involving Takako and apparently something that happened to her. We also have some discrepancy in the timeline, where apparently she vanished more than 4 years ago, but we have memories of her like from 2 years ago. So we have this gap where we were literally probably hallucinating for 2 years, which is kind of scary. I really worry that Sachiko was somehow involved in that. Yeah, so not looking pretty. But anyway, we're going to push forward. We're going to find out what the solution is, hopefully. I have no idea how much longer we have. I feel like we're only in the middle of it though, so I'm sure we got some more episodes ahead of us yet. So buckle up and let's see what happens. 2 days later, I ended up finishing my work early, so I told Fumi and the others that I had a little errand to run and went straight to the clinic. Upon telling Narasaki about it, she asked me if everything was okay with work, adding that it must be a hassle to jump through all those hoops. I can't exactly tell everyone when I'm leaving early because I suspect I'm going mad and need to have my head checked. Well, I understand your circumstances. It's pretty common in this field. Yeah, I bet. It kind of sucks though. It's like, it'd be nice if you could open up about this kind of stuff, but like, can you? I mean, even if you have like truly sympathetic friends, family, they're really probably not going to understand what's going on. I'd also prefer to keep this from my regular clients. Have I not told you before? That's why I wanted to discuss this with you in private. Really? I looked at Narasaki's desk, and I had a bundle of medical records on it. Beyond that, on the wall, I spotted a green board with some memos, a couple of landscape pictures, and a small calendar pinned to it. The calendar had a picture of a turbulent-looking sea on it. It seemed dangerous to swim in. The entire scenery was dominated by the color blue. Even by the cliffs in the distance seemed somewhat affected, resembling massive icebergs. Ooh, I saw something sad. Cause remember how Takako always loved like swimming and like water? Like what if that was what ended up happening to her? Like what if she went swimming somewhere with like an undertow and she just vanished and they never found her body or something? Oh, it makes my heart hurt. The days below the picture were circled. They had all sorts of errands and what was most likely appointments written around them. Did you find something interesting? Narasaki asked, addressed to me while jotting down something on my medical record. Yeah, I was wondering, how long have you been working here? I'm approaching my 3rd year as a practicing physician. Before that, I worked at a different clinic. I considered her white coat, trying to imagine her usual day here. Which one of your patients left the biggest impression? Narasaki seemed to freeze for a moment. She then answered that there were many seemingly trying to avoid the subject. Ooh, interesting. Wonder what that's all about. Realizing that it was probably my thoughtless question, I decided not to prod further. Interesting. I shift my gaze from Narasaki and look around the consultation room. All kinds of bottles with English labels linked to the medicine shelf, neatly locked behind this glass door. As I absentmindedly gazed at the graded beaker, I realized that I went out of focus with all the little blue lines on it blurring together. I rubbed my right eye. You seem tired. I pulled a late shift yesterday. I returned my gaze to Narasaki. One was Takako. She slightly turned her chair toward me. Are you getting enough sleep lately? Work's a bit frantic these days. I'm handling twice my usual workload. That's not good. I know. The brunt of the work is actually already finished. All that's left to do is organize everything. So you're saying that the worst part's already over? Yes. Well, be careful. A vacation does a little good if you only end up ruining your health through overworking. I know that. Do you have any plans to go somewhere? Not really. I see. Hopefully she does. I mean, she kind of needs it. Narasaki took a breath and spun her pen around her thumb on her right hand. I felt as though I'd heard a cat meowing in the distance. I strained my ears, only to hear another clear meow from the direction of the small window. I imagine it's walking around the fence behind the building. I see them there sometimes. Narasaki fell silent as I stared out the window. We remained completely silent, but no other meows followed. The window itself was similar to the kind that tends to be in bathrooms. When I thought about it, this room suddenly started feeling very small. You usually have people in this room that tend to say some off-kilter things, right? Right. Narasaki looked behind her, allowing her gaze to travel across the entire room before it finally stopped on me again. It's pretty small, isn't it? Lately, I've heard how other doctors try to make their consultation rooms look as spacious as possible and use brightly colored wallpaper to lessen the stress of the patients. It doesn't seem like you're doing that. I don't have the funds. Besides, this place is small, but it feels kind of isolated from the rest of the building, right? I feel it might help some patients to relax and talk instead. I think I like it this way, too. Glad to hear that. Narasaki made a satisfied smile. Did you take those pictures? Nope, just stuck them on a bunch of photos I liked. That's a blue grotto. Oh, I didn't even know that. You seem very well informed. I've been to it. We went all sorts of places with Takako. Such as? That seemed to pique Narasaki's interest. Maybe we can get where we were. It felt more like I was chatting with a friend at the cafe rather than having an actual medical examination or anything of the sort. Narasaki kept asking questions from my past, from my club activities at the school and all the trips I had over the years. I told her everything I could remember, trying to be brief and on the point as possible. Narasaki wrote everything down, her white coat swinging as her hand danced across the pages of white paper. She would also jot down some notes on my medical record once in a while. When I told Narasaki about how Takako found a printing error on the winning candy stick and the woman selling them had to fix it with a marker, she once again added a note to my medical record. After heaving a brief sigh, I took a sip of coffee and had to break from all the talking. Any new problems since our last appointment? I told her about how I saw Takako at the office after discussing vacation plans with Fumi. Narasaki wrote something down in my medical record again. Squeezed under it, I saw a medical examination paper with all sorts of numbers printed out on it. It looked like it could have been my blood test. Are those the results of my previous examination? Narasaki followed my gaze and, spying the paper, gave me a nod. Did you find anything out? I wanted to know if she'd come any closer to elucidating the cause. Elucidating is a good word, but I never use it right. Of course I did. Narasaki pulled the papers out and placed them on top of the medical record. For starters, it doesn't seem like your condition is physical, she explained, tracing the top line of the results with her finger. According to our test results, your physical health is in perfect order. All your blood values are normal. We found no drugs in your system. According to the written test you took, it doesn't seem like your intellect is impaired in any way either. And finally, from your reactions to my questions during our conversation, I'd say schizophrenia can also be safely ruled out. Well, that's a relief, I suppose. Then what is causing this? It's most likely something psychogenic. I'd guess something along the lines of a strong mental trauma or chronic stress. Or perhaps both, she added. I tried to consider both possibilities. I was so busy with work, but I didn't have any severe problems. If anything, my company was on the rise. My personal life had grown quite lonely without Takako, but that wasn't to the extent I'd lost sleep thinking about it. I also couldn't think of any particularly stressful or shocking situations I might have exposed to, not in my private life, and not in work either. Except Takako vanishing. Any ideas? Narasaki added. I kept thinking for a few moments, then I answered in the negative. Narasaki nodded and leaned against a chair. Is something the matter? I imagine it's most likely you've forgotten the cause. I'm not trying to sound like I know everything about you, but from what you've told me so far, I can't think of a more likely cause than Takako's disappearance. Besides, you told me that you couldn't recall the details surrounding it. So both the ringing in my ears and the hallucinations are caused by that? I'm not sure about the ringing, but it would be natural to assume that your hallucinations of Takako are. I've already thought of that possibility. Takako's disappearance left a deep wound in my heart, and I was chronically exhausted from trying to manage my life and work without her. But I never faced that pain. Instead, I made up another Takako in my mind to distract myself from it. Oh, man. Seems like you were thinking something along those lines yourself. It seemed like you were thinking something along those lines yourself. Indeed, I was. It was natural for her to assume the same. Still, I wasn't sure why, but I felt like something was off about this train of thought. As I fell silent, Narasaki parted her lips and uttered a brief phrase. Everything has a reason or cause, seemingly muttering to herself. Okay. Interesting. I glanced at the medical record in Narasaki's hand. I had a cause and symptoms written down on something on a diagram-looking thing. You still can't remember anything about how she disappeared? No. To tell the truth, I've tried investigating reports about people who disappeared abroad over the past 2 years, but I couldn't find a single article on your friend. Oops, wrong voice again. You mean she hasn't disappeared? I don't know. Maybe there was simply no article written. Narasaki paused. I tried remembering the last trip with Takako, but my memories remain shrouded by a thick fog. Do you think Takako broke up with her, maybe? That could be considered pretty traumatic. It just doesn't seem right, though. Of course, granted, how many of these memories have we had that were actually Takako? I don't know. I can try and bring those memories to the surface through hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy? You mean hypnosis? Like with a swaying coin and everything? Yeah, I could try to use a coin if you insist. Narasaki pulled out one of her drawers and picked up a 5-yen coin from all the change scattered in the pen tray inside. You can do that? The effectiveness varies drastically from person to person, but I've done hypnotherapy before. Okay, so there's an interesting thing. Anyone who's taken basic psychology classes could probably tell you this, but hypnosis does work. Like, they've done clinical studies and they found it does work. However, hypnosis doesn't work for everybody. As a matter of fact, probably the biggest indication of whether hypnosis will work is directly involved with people. Like, you have to have a good imagination. Doesn't have to be crazy, but like, it has to be a decent imagination. And you have to believe that the hypnosis might actually work for you. If you qualify those two things, it tends to actually work. Because hypnosis is all about getting you into a relaxed state. And I believe that influencing and bringing up your beta waves of your mind, and just effectively, I don't know, have you ever had the problem where you have a problem and you can't find the solution for it, but then as soon as you start talking to someone about it, it's suddenly like, boom, you know the answer right away? It's that kind of thing. Where you get stuck in a rut sometimes in your mind, and by thinking about things differently, by approaching them from a different direction, or by viewing them from a different mental state, you can suddenly see things and rational things that you normally couldn't. Now, there's some lack of validity there, because like through these hypno sessions, like some people have come to believe that they went through some type of trauma, but evidence later finds that there was no evidence of said trauma. Meaning that sometimes, like, in these hypnotic states, we might be more susceptible to creating memories, which is something we do all the time. But in a hypnotic state, you could be persuaded through the proper questioning and the proper sympathetic, suggestions that your hypnotist could be using, can implant false memories. So you have to be really careful with hypnotherapy, but if hypnotherapy is done correctly, it can be really effective at helping start a healing process. Not finish it, it's not some cure-all, and it's not going to like suddenly change your personality, or do things like snap your fingers and you become Jason Bourne kind of thing. It's not like that at all. And hypnotherapy would never make you do anything you wouldn't be willing to do normally. But it is effective, so it's something to consider. If you're ever in a situation where like you're dealing with a lot of stress, or you just need to process stuff, and someone like your doctor or physician recommends trying it out, give it a shot. I've never done it besides like the fun kind, where like you just goof around. But I don't know. Like, part of me thinks that because I'm so aware of like how it works, it might not work for me anymore, because I understand it too much, and like, I would know that if it is working, it's only working because I believe it's working, and thus I might not be able to pull it off. And I might have just ruined it for you too, honestly, so, what can you do? If Takako's disappearance really is the cause of your hallucinations, we might get a hint of what could help you in recovery, provided you remember how it all happened. As I stared at the sizable coin on her desk, Narasaki placed a hand on it. But first, I'd like to confirm that you actually want to get rid of the hallucinations. As I gave Narasaki a puzzled look, she explained that my symptoms were slightly different from all the other patients she had dealt with. Well, what's so different about me? The difference is that your symptoms don't seem to affect your life in a negative way. At least as far as I can tell. What do you mean? Well, what do you think are the main problems with hallucinations? I cocked my head to the side. For example, let's say a patient keeps seeing bugs crawl on the wall or crazy killers chasing them along through the streets. That causes them to get startled or even start running when there's nothing really happening. If that keeps happening periodically, well, you can imagine how it might become difficult to lead a normal life. That's what I mean by negative effects. However, in your case, it sounds like you spent the last 2 years leading an ordinary life despite your condition. That's true. Also, not only do you not realize there was something wrong with you for 2 years, but neither did your acquaintances. I don't believe a massive difference in perspective is seen as such as seeing a person who's not there could go unnoticed for long. As I've explained, hallucinations are false information interpreted by your mind as genuine. When you're looking at Takako, your eyes should be fixing on an empty space. When you hear her speaking, you react to sounds that aren't there. Do you think no one would have noticed that for 2 whole years? Especially when you actually have a conversation with her. She had a point. Now that I thought about it, my 2 colleagues seemingly showed no signs of finding anything wrong with my behavior. Narasaki regarded me in silence. That's interesting. I realized that Narasaki had not seen me act that way either. And according to her, there was no physical factors that could have caused me to act this way either. From her perspective, it might even be possible that I was making all this up. I'm not lying. I know that. I know you. You're not the kind to make up things like that. Narasaki's expression turned somewhat more mellow. Well, I suppose it's possible you simply never had any conversations with Takako other than when the other 2 were present. That can't be true. I have memories of all 4 of us talking. I may have been having conversations with her, but I certainly couldn't have. So I think she was having, like, intense daydreams or something. In that case, perhaps you act normally when you're in front of them, the way you would if you understood that Takako was gone. I don't know. Are you saying your memories are incorrect? Most likely, in your head, there's a delusion that Takako is still with you, and it keeps overriding your real memories. I considered Narasaki's words for a while, while my gaze fixed on the floor. Soon enough, I heard her chair creak, which made me raise my face again. So, let me repeat myself. Are you sure you want to get rid of these hallucinations, even though they don't seem to be interfering with your normal life? She continued without waiting for my answer. For example, there are people with alleged psychic powers that can see ghosts and auras around people. From their perspective of psychiatry, that's a condition that should be looked at, but from their perspective, it's not something they'd necessarily want to be cured of. That's because neither of those cures serves problems during their normal lives. In a way, your situation is similar. Beside you, there seem to exist both an office without Takako that you share with your colleagues, and an alternative one with her that you keep to yourself. Besides, I couldn't find anything physically wrong with you either, so there's always the possibility that things might go away on its own eventually. Man, a lot of words, and I keep mixing them up. I felt like making a sigh, but I held it in. Still, if there's anything that can help cure me, I want to try it. I'd rather not want to worry about suddenly starting to talk about things that don't make sense to my colleagues, and seeing things that no one else does kind of weirds me out. Narasaki broke our gaze as she fell in thought for a few moments, then looked back at me. Over that time, the pen in her hand moved from between her thumb and index finger, traveling all the way to her pinky in wide arcs. Then it returned to her former position in the same way, almost like someone had rewound a tape. Well, it's not like everyone wants to see the same things anyway. I furrowed my brows, unable to understand what Narasaki meant. When I was a kid, I told my friend the flower he drew in arts class had weird colors. But my friend thought those colors were beautiful. Her flower mainly used rich colors like red, blue, and purple, but for whatever reason, she used a chromatic colors like brown and gray and color a few parts of it. Honestly, it looked pretty creepy to me. But to my friend, who likely possessed a different interpretation of colors, it looked very charming. Narasaki looked around and pointed at the decorative strawberry on her table. For example, we can both agree that this strawberry is red. However, there's no way to tell if the reds you and I see are the same. It's so true! It's so interesting. There's a really cool study about, I think actually it's in Japan, I don't know if this is the case. I know it happened a couple times in like the Pacific Islands, and I think I read something recently that said it in Japan. It's the same way, but it was like in these cultures where, for some reason, what we describe as the colors green and blue had the same word, or like at least a word that was super similar. And in the cultures where that happened, the people on those islands would not be able to tell the difference between blue and green like we would. I mean, some would tell that they are kind of different, but for them, the way they perceived those colors was almost identical, and so they would often mix them up. But they were also tested for color blindness, and they found that that wasn't the case. It's just one of those weird things where, like, how do we see things, and like, does everyone else see them in ways that like are the same? It's like, well, we don't know. We can never know. And until we can like map brainwaves and like recreate thoughts and memories, which I don't even know if that's possible, we'll never know. It's really interesting, isn't it? Like, what colors do you think you're seeing on the screen right now? Or the music? Like, is it pleasant to you, or is it not pleasant to you? Perhaps all these differences we hear about opinions on like the internet and people shouting at each other, it could just be possible that the only reason why we disagree is because we're different minds and we're going to interpret things differently. Like, it's not even something that's just like, oh, you have different tastes in me. It's like literally our brain chemistries are different, thus we like different things. Did you ever think about that? That was a weird laugh. Let's move on. There's no way to express such a difference in words. It causes no misunderstandings either. I think you're losing me. Huh? Really? Alright, well, let's see. Can we dive into our memories, maybe? Like, this hypnosis and figure out what's going on? No, I guess not. I returned home, took a shower, and ate yesterday's potato salad leftovers for dinner. Then I slumped down to the sofa and began watching TV. The news commenter kept babbling on about unrelated things instead of introducing the actual news. I kept absentmindedly staring at the screen, and as I hadn't really paid any attention to all the details of what was happening and why, I realized I only remembered the opinion of the expert they brought in. I began my search for a less tiring program, and after a bit of flipping through channels, I settled on a weather broadcast. I thought about my time in the clinic. Narasaki told me that she needed some preparation for the hypnotherapy, so I was sent home right after the explanation of my test results. Give us some time before our next appointment. According to Narasaki, I'd forgotten the very thing that caused me to hallucinate. Both that and my memory loss was apparently some sort of self-defense mechanism against the mental trauma. Takako's disappearance was so shocking it made me forget how it even happened. If the hallucinations were simply caused by not having Takako in my life anymore, time could easily solve the issue. Still, shock and stress being the cause just don't sound right to me. Takako is the most important person in my life. I'd do anything if there was a way to make her come back. But neither she nor I could have wished for the nonsense like this. Ugh, what is happening? Somebody's got to know. She knows her family. Can't she just call her family? Like, hey, where's Takako? As I returned to the clinic, I found Narasaki staring at her notebook. Well, what are you reading? She gave me a glance and said, it's a record of some of my old patients. As I sat down, Narasaki closed her notebook and stuffed it into a drawer. You said my hallucinations were special, but how do people normally start seeing them? Narasaki answered with an aloof, Many hypotheses exist pertaining to hallucinations, but there's still a lot we don't know. The most accepted one is the dopamine hypothesis. Your nervous cells secrete too much dopamine in the synapse, and it makes the electrical impulses in your brain go haywire, showing you hallucinations. There's another hypothesis that hallucinations occur when your self-awareness drops. When you wake up in the morning, sometimes there's a short period where you don't remember who you are, right? It's something like that, basically. The hypothesis states that you lose the ability to differentiate between things happening in reality and things happening inside your head. Okay, hang on, hold the phone. Anyone who's watching here, please, leave a comment for this one, because I'm really curious. Poll you guys. How many of you have had that feeling where you wake up in the morning and sometimes there's a short period of time where you don't remember who you are? I've never had that, ever, once. I've never been like, who am I? No, I've had it where I don't remember where I am. If I fall asleep somewhere and I don't recognize, and I wake up, especially if I wake up somewhere that's really dark, and I can just tell from like the smell or the sounds that I'm not home, but I'll wake up and I won't remember where I am. I just know I'm not home, and I have like a panic moment. That happens every once in a while. But Do any of you actually wake up and not have are kind of confused as to who you are? That would be weird. Anyway, like, please, if you can, I'd love to know. And if you do have that, like, can you explain it a little bit? Because that's fascinating. Well, those are the most common cases anyway. How do you treat them? In both cases, you've got to do away with the cause first. There are many things that can cause the dopamine excess, but in most cases it's introduced by drugs. Most of the time you can take care of that by simply taking medicine with dopamine antagonists. I have no idea what that word is. As for the drop of self-awareness, it usually is a result of stress after a strong mental trauma. In that case, you find you have to elucidate the concrete cause and solve it for the patient. Sounds pretty complicated. Don't worry about it. Your cause is different. And besides, you can leave all the complicated stuff to me. I mean, she went to be a doctor. She probably took at least 8 years of study to get to the point where she can do this, so that's why. Narasaki gave me a smile. I wonder if determining the cause will also make my hallucinations disappear. Everything has a cause and a reason. We'll start from clarifying those. Everything has a reason. It was something I'd heard Narasaki say before. Actually, I think I'd heard her say something along the lines multiple times. And I agree with that idea. I think my symptoms have a reason, too. I told Narasaki what I've been thinking about since last night. I think I've mistaken the date of Takako's disappearance to make sense of why they'd both be in the office at the same time. That has to be it. But I'm still not sure why my hallucinations happened in the first place. Even if her disappearance was an incredible shock to me, I doubt I'd want to be deceiving myself just so I wouldn't have to face it. I just wouldn't do something like that. So I want to remember what had really happened and figure this thing out properly. Narasaki nodded. You might end up remembering something unpleasant, though. I tried to imagine what could possibly be, but nothing came to mind. Putting that aside, though, I was more scared of living my life seeing things that weren't real. If it's related to Takako, I can't allow myself to just forget it. Oh boy. Come on, maybe get some answers. Narasaki picked up the 5 yen coin from the desk. Are you really going to use that? Narasaki made a slight, silent smile as she attached a piece of string to the coin. I'll use hypnosis to bring out your memories from your subconscious to the surface. However, there's no guarantee they'll be real memories. There was a case where a hypnotized patient started talking about being kidnapped by aliens, or their memories from the previous life. The brain has a hard time differentiating between real memories and delusions. So, if something like that happens, what are we going to do? I'll ask you questions. Then I'll try my best to lead you to the answers we need while you're in an unconscious state. So, it's all up to you, basically. Well, yep. Don't worry, I'm actually pretty good at this. Are you ready? I am. Are we ready? I think so. My butt hurts. I need to get a good chair. This chair creaks, and it's solid. No cushion at all. And I sit here for at least a couple hours every night, like either recording and or editing. My butt is crying. I need a better chair. Maybe next Christmas or something. I sat down in a cozy armchair. I wish. Almost lying down. Narasaki came close and told me to relax. Then she told me to watch the coin. As I started to slowly sway, she began to talk. Try remembering that trip. I focused my thoughts on the last trip I had with Takako. A street paved with stones, brick buildings around me. Takako and I are walking together. A street paved with stones, and brick buildings around me. Takako and I are walking together. I felt the nostalgic scent of the town I visited a long, long time ago. Excuse me. Ugh. Oh boy. I hope I don't start getting too emotional here, but man. I get all choked up. Sorry. Excuse me. I really apologize for that. I was walking behind Takako, who kept looking left and right. I could hear the cool sounds of running water as we continued down the stone-paved street, surrounded by tall stone buildings. Ooh, looks like Rome. At the end of the alley, we found ourselves in a small square at the very center of the old town. It was a giant fountain here. Marble sculptures lined the walls behind the fountain with all sorts of engravings on its edge. In the center stood a ruler of the seas, Neptune, surrounded on each side by the fertility goddess, Ceres, and the goddess of health, Salus. Neptune, Ceres, and Salus. Yeah. So this is Roman gods, so I'm guessing they are in Italy. Ooh, maybe not Rome, because it said small old town. Like, they're implying it's a smaller town, so maybe it's just a little villa I don't know about. Water flowed forth from the legs of all three, trickling down to the huge puddle below them like a waterfall. Takako already had 2 coins in her hand. I hope I don't miss! Is it even possible such a huge target? Just try not to hit anyone like you did in Asakusa. The small square, half of which was taken up by the fountain, was filled with people. A group of workers pulling a cart packed with large boxes, people resting on stairs, a couple sitting on the stone handrail, some seemingly more interested in each other than the fountain, and a group of tourists listening to the explanations of their guide. Takako turned her back to the fountain and tossed the coin backwards. Toing! The coin, painting a beautiful arc across the blue of the sky, plopped into the water, vanishing from sight. Did I get it in? As I nodded, Takako's face lit up. After taking a handful of pictures in front of the fountain, I grabbed Takako, still reluctant to leave, by the arm and left the square. Where are we going next? As we entered the alley neighboring the gelato shop, Takako placed the camera back in her bag and pulled out the tourist booklet we bought at the airport, spreading the map that she kept inside it. Then she checked the compass key holder that was attached to her bag. The main attraction today is obviously the cathedral, which is here. And we're here. Which means we gotta go there. Takako showed me the map and pointed to the alley to the west. You're interested in churches and cathedrals, right? I'm trying to think. Okay, I think it's Takako still talking. After checking out this temple in that square, we can cross the river and head for the Grand Cathedral. Takako pointed at the pictures in the booklet as we walked. I heard a rattling sound from behind the corner next to the shoe store. Whoa! Takako jumped out of the way of a yellow tricycle that suddenly appeared. The tricycle, cargo boxes filled with red and pink flowers, creaked as though expressing some sort of discontent, then swiftly disappeared beyond another corner, leaving only a faint fragrance of flowers in its wake. It smells nice, Takako remarked. There weren't many stores in this arc-shaped alleyway. The display windows were filled with a plethora of things. A wine store had a bunch of wooden boxes with bottles stacked in front of it. A confectionery had 2 transparent bags of colorful beans hanging above its door. Its orange-tinted display windows were cracked, where it peaked with 3 rows of various chocolates and candies shaped in the form of flowers and fruits. Sachi, let's hurry out to the temple. Takako, who had gone ahead of me as I briefly halted to look at the candles, came back with and clasped my hand. You're not embarrassed to hold hands? Everyone's doing it here. Remember the couples at the fountain? Those 2 were glued to each other. She pulled on my hand. Besides, aren't we on a trip together? What's there to be embarrassed about? Takako let out an audible laugh. As we exited the alleyway, we found ourselves in another square with a fountain. It was surrounded by people who looked like street performers and souvenir shops that seemed specialized in wood carvings. Turning to the right, I spotted a huge white pillar. As we continued down the bustling square while clasping each other's hands, another set of pillars appeared from the shadows of the one we saw from the distance. Whoa, it's huge! The triangle-shaped roof along the temple was supported by 16 big stone pillars. Under it, there was a long entrance with a tall ceiling that was shaped like a cylindrical dome from the outside. Oh my gosh, wait. I think, are we at the Sistine Chapel? That would make sense. And then that would put us in Vienna, right? Not Venice. Venice is the city of waterways. Vienna. I think we're in Vienna. It's okay to go see, right? I want to see how it looks. Takako pulled my hand toward the entrance, nimbly evading the people in the crowd. I looked up at the dome above our heads. Unlike the entrance, there were no pillars supporting it. I could see the blue sky peeking from the hole in its center. Wow. That'd look amazing. It may not be the Sistine Chapel, didn't mention paintings, but still, very, very cool architecture. Something I'd love to go see someday. After admiring the divine-looking pillar of light, we continued towards the morning market that was mentioned in the booklet. There were no big roads that led to it, so we had to use a lot of tiny alleyways between buildings. Despite getting lost a few times, we finally found our way to our destination. However, being exhausted by the long trek, we decided to first take a break at a nearby restaurant. What kind of flower do you think that is? Which one? We gazed at the market from under the white parasols lining the restaurant's terrace. There were countless wooden stands next to each other. Every single one sported a canvas roof to protect them from the sun. The assortment included food, spices, fruits, flowers, and other miscellaneous goods. There's a blue bucket with a purple flower sitting next to near that stand. I'm not sure what they are. They look kind of like chrysanthemums, though. I wonder if we have them in Japan. Remember that vegetable store from earlier? It was pretty awesome. Who would have thought that there'd be so many different species of tomatoes? Oh yeah, I know. I've grown several of them. I wonder if they use different ones for different dishes. As we were discussing the market, the waiter approached us to take our order. You gonna order the salad again? Yes. As Takako spoke with the waiter, all the while gesturing like a crazy person, I glanced back at the market on one more time. I wonder how many languages Takako knew. It looks like a festival. It's nice to see everyone running back and forth with so much energy. I wonder if it's like that every day. Takako said that as we finished conveying our orders. Seems like the square has served a variety of different purposes over the years. At one point it was a field of flowers. In another period it was used to stage executions. Ooh, fun. Told her what was written on the building. Executions? You know, like flogging. Ugh. I wonder if the people who came back here to pick flowers ever imagined this place would end up like that. Or if the people who were flogging here expected the area to eventually become a market. I'm not sure if that matters anyway. Takako shook her head, wolfing down the fruit she'd bought at the market. Like, try imagining someone in the distant past sitting in the same place as we do. What if that someone imagined there would be a restaurant here, and the woman sitting there would be thinking about them? Wouldn't that be incredible? It would have been pretty miraculous for them to imagine that an Asian girl would one day be bringing it up to her girlfriend while they're chewing on fruits. I'm willing to bet it's also as likely as the birth of another universe or something. Well then, not bad. Really? Or rather, even less likely than that. Takako stuffed a piece of orange in her mouth and closed her eyes. Alright, now I'm thinking about Great. Now I'm thinking about two homosexual aliens from Jupiter having a picnic here after the fall of humanity, and thinking about two Asian women eating fruits at the restaurant at the very same place when they find themselves stacked on seaweed-filled rice balls. If you skip the homosexual bit, the rice balls, you might even be right. That's funny. You think it'd be as likely as the birth of a new universe? That would be nice. I hope someone built a temple for us, too, if that happens. Yeah, right. I think the possibility of the current gods punishing you for those ideas is a lot higher, actually. That seems very nice, very pleasant. Man. And they're a lot more open about their relationship, it looks like. Which is good. Also really sad, because what happens? Oh, gosh. Oh, the butt strikes again. We stopped in front of a panini sandwich cart that stood in the middle of the stone bridge across the river. How much food are they eating? This must be a lot later. It resembled a gigantic opened-up umbrella with gelato, soft drinks, and all sorts of snacks lined up underneath it. We bought some panini and drinks and continued down the road. I still can't get used to how cheap everything is here, Takako remarked as she gobbled down her panini. Her sandwich was shaped like a cream puff with cheese, Bushido ham, and ricotta herbs. Unable to watch Takako try and fail to fit this into her mouth, the store clerk helped her crush the thing into smaller size. You want a taste? Noticing my stare, Takako offered me a bite of her sandwich. I nodded and helped myself to a small portion. The bread had just the right amount of crispiness to it, while the savory smell coming from inside it, combined with the taste of the ham and cheese, resulted in a truly mouth-watering culinary experience. Kinda surprised you can get something this good at that price. The restaurant we had lunch at was pretty cheap too. I wonder if it's their economy. Could be. I answered her as I wolfed down the food. No, that's really interesting, because they're talking about like how it sounds like things in Japan are expensive and in Italy and they're cheap. And the funny thing is, like, I've watched videos of Japan and they talk about how much things cost and it sounds really cheap to me. Like, with the conversion rates and all that. It's interesting. I wonder if that's just... I wonder if it's like really like that, or if it's just like everything feels cheaper whenever you travel. Then I took a sip of the Coke we bought at the same store. We could save money, quit our jobs in Japan, and move here. Takako crossed the river and entered another alleyway. That's one plan for the far future. Then maybe we should move here earlier and run a shop together, like the one we've just been to. You mean a cart? They have flower carts in San Francisco, too. Yeah, you see them a lot overseas. I guess it's cheaper than renting out an actual building. I wonder if they do what they do on days with bad weather. With no air conditioning, I doubt business is booming during the winter. On top of that, if the wheels of the carts get damaged or something, you can't sell anything until you get them fixed. Yeah, I wonder how they profit. There's no way to know unless we have the data, but given the amount of time we spend in town, that can't be that bad. Given the amount of them, sorry, I read that wrong. I imagine you can insure the cart, too. I see. If you're so curious, how about asking them directly? I pointed at another cart shop at the road by the river. It seemed to be dealing in women's apparel and had all sorts of clothes hung up in the block the view. Still, I could at least spot a female customer talking with a gray-haired, middle-aged clerk. Takako looked at the cart for a while before turning back to me. It would be cool to travel around the world selling your things, but I'd rather have a proper store so you can design it the way you want. I'm sure that bothers you more than profits. Of course! In either case, we have to study the native language here. Yep! Let's do it together, just like we did with English. I wonder if they have any movies in this language. I'm sure they do. The sun peeked out from between the buildings and surrounded the alley, making Takako's eyes narrow her eyes. God, I need to learn. I need to teach myself a language, dang it. I was hoping to do it at university, but I'm not sure if I can do that anymore. I got accepted to university, got all my scholarships and everything, like the basic ones that'll cover my basic tuition needs, but there's no support for daycare, and I don't think we can afford it. Like, it's like we got a mortgage to pay, we got bills to pay. I mean, it's not like we're destitute, but I can't shell out $20,000 a year for daycare. It's not going to work. We'll see. At the very least, I do want to start learning Japanese. And maybe I'll just have to bite the bullet and, I don't know, do Rosetta Stone or something. Something that's maybe going to be effective. I don't know. I tried Lingual Lift, and it was fun, but I feel like it was going to get more expensive too expensive after a while. Well, anyway, let's push on. The edges of the brown-colored roofs cast many uneven shadows on the road. Ah, that arch looks pretty cute. I followed Takako's finger to see a grand window with an angel carved in the arch above it. The wall was covered in green ivy, so that gave the impression that the angel was peeking out of a forest. I wonder if that's some ancient artisan made it. I imagine that's the case. It's kind of cool to have so many old things remind you of your town, don't you think? I mean, if we moved here, we could also pretend we were living in the Middle Ages. That's all good and fine, but we should think about that after we finish paying off our loan on a 10-story apartment complex built with a reinforced concrete. Wait, do they own the whole complex? These buildings look like they're made from stone. Could they be, like, 2,000 years old or something? Takako furrowed her brows. Maybe. It makes you think of the Three Little Pigs, doesn't it? I like cozy wooden buildings. Would you prefer to live up north, then? Apparently, the northern region is the place that is affected by the architecture of neighboring countries, so they've got a lot of wooden buildings there. It's written in the booklet. Here. She pointed at the picture of some mountain villages. Then you can make a homemade panini for me. Sure, but you're making the ham. What? The ham's gonna be homemade too? Takako shrugged. We continued down the road, our shoes clicking against the mosaic-laden pavement. It's that roof, right? Should be, but it doesn't feel like we're getting any closer. We can see the bluish roof of the Grand Cathedral towering above the other buildings in the distance. Long houses with no gaps in between them littered the streets, which could make it impossible to take a straight path from any one direction. I felt like we kept wandering around in circles for the last 30 minutes without ever getting closer to the roof at all. We lost sight of the roof completely after a bunch of buildings with brownish roofs blocked it from view. Siesta time must have begun, considering there were only a few people wandering the streets and the rest were probably taking a break or napping. Oh, hang on, siesta. If they're at siesta, then they're probably in Spain. Did she mention she wanted to go to Spain in that one episode? I think she might have. Interesting, so I wonder where they are. As I was examining the window with a sturdy-looking Venetian shutter, a tourist carriage pulled by a horse passed us by. I'll go ask. Wait here. Takako darted after the carriage, disappearing into one of the small alleys. I hurried after her, but by the time I turned the corner, neither Takako nor the carriage were anywhere in sight. I bet she got lost like a dunce. After checking my wallet and realizing it had been 5 minutes since Sachiko disappeared, I decided there's no point in waiting any longer. I continued down the coiling stone road, using the roof of the Grand Cathedral as my landmark. I also made sure to check the booklet each time I found a significant-looking Gothic-style building or fountain. The booklet's pages seemed to look darker than before. I looked up and saw the sun had moved at an angle where the buildings surrounding me almost completely blocked it from sight. I glanced behind me, noticing that both the road I came from and the direction I was heading in were completely devoid of people. Okay. I continued on the road full of shops and was closed shutters and darkening display windows. Seems like it's been longer than 5 minutes. Quickening my pace, I began to draw closer to another corner. However, right before I could make the turn, a person moved from behind it and bumped into me. Oh, Scutzy! I'm sorry. You're Japanese? I looked up and saw a long-haired woman with a spirited look in her eyes. Her gaze traveled from my face to the booklet in my hands. Are you lost? She asked. These back streets are full of twisting turns and dead ends. It's easy to get lost. I can show you the way out if you want. She gave me a friendly look. Okay. After I accepted her offer, she introduced herself as Fujisaki Nane. She walked a short distance ahead of me, her heels confidently clicking against the stone pavement like it was her very own backyard. You're trying to get to the Grand Cathedral, right? She's probably heading that way too. What if you can't find it there? I'll go back to the hotel. That's probably for the best, yeah. Thanks. You're a lifesaver. Hey, don't sweat it. Even I was getting a bit anxious walking around on my own. I couldn't spot much anxiety in the confident smile she gave me. Most of the stores and government offices close around this time, and the place had turned into a ghost town. In exchange, they stayed up late and get up early. Being from Japan, I still didn't quite get how their economy can function like that. Fujisaki kept bringing up all sorts of subjects, likely trying to find something that would help indicate inside a conversation. Wow, am I struggling? I'm kind of worried though. I've got the fear in me. What happened to Takako? Did she literally just never get seen or heard of again? That'd be really weird. I suppose this siesta system wouldn't stay around if it started seriously hindering the economy, though. Yeah. And then all the Japanese will be shocked to hear that on the news. That it was a thing to begin with? Yeah, exactly. I kept answering the questions she brought up as we walked. I myself tried asking a thing or two. Fujisaki came from the Kansai region and was a year older than me. You were in kindergarten together? That's pretty incredible. Is it? Don't you have anyone like that, Miss Fujisaki? I was brought up in a mountain town in the middle of nowhere. I had a few friends like that until middle school, but they all eventually left to live in cities. Can't blame them for wanting to get out. Fujisaki spoke as she continued to lead me ahead. What do you do for a living, Miss Mizuno? I run a design company. Only founded it recently, though. You got your own company. That's pretty incredible. What exactly do design companies do anyway? We design logos for other companies, advertisement posters, packaging for all sorts of goods, and so on. We deal in anything as long as it falls under design and doesn't exceed what our capabilities allow for. Did you come here for a commission too? Not really. I just like traveling. I see. Are you also traveling, Miss Fujisaki? You seem to be used to the area. I came here to buy furniture. You know, like couches, tables, and so on. Do you run a furniture store? Fujisaki shook her head without looking back at me. Nah, I run an inn back home. It's a Western mansion. It's been around since the beginning of the war, since before the war. It's seen a lot of other things are old and need to be replaced. That said, we can't afford to replace everything with expensive modern furniture, so I came here once in a while to look for materials to fix some of our old stuff. Plus, cheaper replacements for things like that are too old to do anything about. So she can't afford new furniture, but she can fly out to Italy every once in a while, or Spain, to get materials? That's interesting. Can't you buy those in Japan? You can, but it's expensive. Besides, I also like traveling. Fujisaki, who was slightly taller than me, shot a brief glance my way and continued walking forward. Where is this town of yours in Kansai, exactly? It's in Hyogo. Want to come visit sometime? It's an ancient place, but you seem like the type who'd like that kind of stuff. Yes, it sounds pretty interesting. Fujisaki pulled out a notebook from her jeans pocket and wrote down her address and contact information. I don't have a business card. Maybe it's about time I made one. She tore out the pages from her notebook and handed it to me. In that case, I might come visit during one of my business trips. Okay, nice and pleasant enough. We continued down the street, decorating with flower reliefs, and after passing through a narrow alleyway, found ourselves in front of a huge cathedral. Here we are! The silence that followed us through the long alleyways was instantly dispelled by the clamor of the tourists. This was by far the biggest square I'd seen today, maybe even more overwhelmed by the grand cathedral looming above it. This is the Central Park, said Fujisaki. A sun clock tower in the center of the stone-paved square, which sat with tall pillars surrounding it in a cylindrical arrangement. Whew. I wonder if your friend is here. You know what, and I wondered that too, but we've actually gone on for a while, so we're going to sadly find out what happens next time. I know we're learning about Takako's disappearance, and I'm really going to be sad if that's literally the last she ever saw of her, was just her running around the corner and then boom, gone. But, yeah, we'll have to find out more, because, like, next time we'll figure out, like, how this all ends, and then maybe have a better understanding, too, of, like, what the next steps are going to be for Sachiko. But I am excited. It feels like it's really... I don't know what to expect. I'm so nervous. I'm really nervous because if Takako didn't die, and she's just out there, and, like, maybe they had a breakup or something, like, maybe there's hope for them to get together yet. But part of me is also thinking that that's just not very likely. Oh. Anyway, we'll figure it out. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. And apparently on this trip to Spain? Spain or Rome. One of the two. But thank you so much for being a part of this. I'd love to hear your thoughts again about, like, the whole psychosis stuff that we were talking about earlier, and anything else you want to chat about. It'd be fun to hear from you. And I just wanted to let you know I appreciate you coming by. And so thank you for coming, and until the next video or watching me or whatever you see me in next, I'll see you there.